submarine, a yellow submarine, a yellow submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine.
I had the creating a sequel, or what a sequel would be in your thinking. I always have my students put the date at the top of the page so that we can keep track of which days have been done. My class came up with icons for each connection, and that was their icon for sequels. In this sequel, I thought that Marcy and Old Man Hammer would become friends since she knew the secret about him planting the sunflowers, and he will share his stories about the building and the neighborhood. I think they will continue working together, and I think that she will devote her life to making communities better and working with elderly. I also made the connection with the time that I spent talking with my grandparents, and I think that Marcy would have that connection with Old Man Hammer as well.
My City Green was on creating a new ending to the story. My 50% thinking part I talked about how Old Man Hammer was a lifetime citizen to the neighborhood, and that in how I was going to change the ending was that after Marcy saw him secretly planting the seeds, Old Man Hammer passed away before spring came. She knew the secret behind the patch of yellow sunflowers and no one else did. She shared with them the secret that Old Man Hammer secretly planted them at nighttime. They decided to dedicate the garden to Old Man Hammer, and Mr. Bennett builds a memorial bench near the sunflowers so they all can sit and enjoy the view of the garden that they grew with love.
For our submarine connection, again, our class came up with icons to use, and this is where there's a character is in a different scenario. So we used the icon that they were holding a book the first time, and then it changed where they were playing basketball. So it was a different. Still have the retelling, and in the thinking, the scenario that was changed, I changed it that City Hall did not at first give them permission to rent the lot, and Old Man Hammer wasn't very involved at first because he was pretty upset that no one, or he felt no one tried to save the building. So I changed the scenario that City Hall didn't give them permission, but since Old Man Hammer was so dedicated to the building and the community that he did get involved more openly with Marcy and the group of neighbors, and that they really worked together and finally persuaded City Hall to give them to rent it. And so his love of the area and Marcy's determination would be a powerful combination, and that they would get some action. And so that's the scenario that was changed.
My anchor chart is changing the genre of the book. So the original genre of City Green is realistic fiction, and so I decided to change it from fiction to nonfiction and make it informational text. And so using the events that the character goes through, the students, I think, could turning the empty lot into a garden, they could show step by step how to go about transforming any space that they come across into a garden. So using transition words like first, then, and finally, maybe using some real photographs of kids doing this in the book could show that nonfiction aspect, and also turning it into maybe a how-to text for changing a space. For this anchor chart, I decided to change the setting. In the original book, City Green, it takes place in the city. So the first thing I would have changed is to a farm. And by changing it to a farm, then the events and characters would be slightly different. So instead of an apartment building being torn down, it might be a barn or a shed or some kind of outside building. There might even be a garden planted like in City Green, but instead of the smaller community garden, it might be a large truck garden, so the family could sell their produce at the local farmers markets like we do here in Aurora. So there's kind of a connection, self-text connection. And since it would be in the country, there would not be as many neighbors probably to help because they would be farther away. And also the character who in the original book City Green discourages them from planting the garden might be a family member, probably more in the family rather than outside of the family.